Hello, everybody. I kind of miss not being able to get on and sort of document with my videos what's been going on with me in my life because a lot has been happening over the past few years. I started this channel in February of 2018. So I'm going on what? 8 years. There's my familiar Jade. It's not something that is just the most popular subject. I have not been the most popular spiritual channel for whatever reason, I'm kind of glad that I'm not. People like Teal Swan, I mean, they're saying things that I say also about, I guess, positive affirmations. But aside from my book on positive affirmations, I incorporate all of that into a spiritual practice. If you're new here, I'm a mystic. My name is Sabrina. And I kind of want to make a new intro for Sabrina the Mystic. I used to have the witch flying on a broom. Well, this weekend, today and yesterday, I helped a friend of mine who has a skin salon. She does sugar paste hair removal. And from time to time, I am a model for her as she's teaching students. I haven't had time to color my hair, guys, so this is one of those videos where I do not have a full beat of makeup and hair, and I always try to look my best, okay? But, excuse me, I'm out of allergy pills and I have post-nasal drip, but my health has been improving because of some things I've been doing. This is the first winter in probably 5 years that I haven't gotten very sick. Yay! So I'm relaxing here on my little tiny sofa and my feet are up on the ottoman. I used to do videos like this about a year and a half ago or so. Coffee chat, story time. But it's too late for me to drink coffee. So I've had hair removed literally from my toes up to my face. So I'm not supposed to put makeup on tonight or even moisturizer. But I did put on some blush and some lipstick. So I'm very tired from being on the table in many different poses today. But most of the hair from my body is removed, so literally from my toes to my head, and she paid me. So that's what's really nice. We have developed a friendship that's grown over time. And what was really scary in the beginning, I'm going to talk about some things that have been happening in regards to narcissism, okay? I have been following someone online that talks a lot about toxic behaviors, okay? Where they are rooted doesn't really matter so much as the kind of behavior that continues if they are unable to examine it. So, this type of condition is becoming more and more to the forefront. Now, I have stated that I believe my entire purpose in life was to become a mystic, to see the mind of the narcissist. I've seen it demonstrated in my life and much more as I grow older. I just made a short which I described an encounter with another narcissist who got triggered and exhibited some crazy behavior. And I did a return to sender, but it was exhausting. It's another reason why I'm so tired. So when I got paid yesterday, the student that my friend was teaching was a cosmetologist. In case you didn't know, I am a licensed esthetician, and I'm very proud of that. And so that's one reason why she uses me as a model. I did have a skin salon business for about a year, and she gave me some suggestions on how to get my hair back to the color I want and how to get the color to stick. But then the guy at Sally Beauty gave me different instructions. So I'm trying to go back to a lighter color. We'll see what happens. I might end up looking weird. And then the developer she said I should get, he told me I shouldn't. I should go back, So tomorrow we're off for President's Day, Monday, and we're also off Tuesday for Teachers Comp Day. So I've got the next 2 days to pull myself back together and start putting on my makeup and doing my hair and coloring my hair and everything, guys. But I'm probably 90% white by now. And some people are when they're in their mid-20s or their early 30s. And I've earned every single one of them. So, yeah, go watch that short, please, because we have to stand up to bullies, whether they are unhealed empaths who have narcissistic patterning, and it continues well beyond their 50s, and so they're not going to be changing unless they're serious about really learning meditation and not being afraid of change. Fear is probably the most gripping, powerful emotion that we have. And that's one of the reasons why people do what happened to me on Friday. Absolutely crazy, ballistic. So I'll just briefly describe to you some of the terms that I have learned over the past couple of years. This particular woman performed what's called narcissistic projection. Any of us can be demonstrating projection, right? We can be projecting our own experiences or feelings onto someone else, because that's the world we live in here, right between our ears. So the problem is that when they get older and they become, mature adults, in the sense that they are 30 years old, 40 years old, or 44 years old, and they've got deep-seated issues that basically are playing 24/7, day and night. They get so deeply archived back into our organic computer, our subconscious mind. Here's the other thing that I have found so interesting. And I've been talking to ChatGPT about it. Why is it that I have experienced a lack of any type of connection or practice in a spiritual idea, right? At all. My ex, who suffered from that condition, said he was Catholic. The people in his country are Catholic. So I'm Catholic. But he wasn't practicing. And when I talked about how he had tarot cards and he did use them, and he used them even before he had approached me and started talking to me and then courting me and, then wanting to ask me to marry him, that he wasn't using tarot for reflection. It is a tool for reflection and growth and tapping into your Akashic records. ChatGPT said to me he was using it to check the weather, right? When is there an opening for me to come towards Sabrina, right? To scoop in and swoop in and, you know, start talking to her. Now, of course, he did put his best foot forward when he was starting to talk to me and offer me assistance for things. He saw my car was dented and I needed a part that was to be replaced. And he did have a humanitarian side, but, you know, they tend to be helpful to other people. But once you become their partner or their legal partner, it changes. You now just have a duty to perform. And I hate the word perform. My mom used to use the word. And, you know, that's just a word that they use. That's how they see things, basically. Now, it seemed that my ex had compassion for other people that would fall down or get hurt or were older and needed some help. But and there were times, thank goodness, that I did get help because he knew I was doing so much that he had to get me back up on my feet. I had to be well. But what happened yesterday was what I've been going over and ChatGPT has been explaining to me is that this woman was absolutely threatened because she's a control freak, completely threatened by my independence. Control freaks don't want you to be having any thoughts of your own. That's another thing I've been learning, okay? So he said, when you demonstrated independent thought and made a judgment call, and you took a child that needed help into the hallway to privately help him, that was the moment that she got triggered. And there was a huge narcissistic injury. Now, there were other incidences that had happened between me and her. I go to this school a lot, and one day I was in the lunchroom, and two people had already come up to me and told me what to do, like I've never been there before. And then she came up and told me what to do, which she does that to a lot of people, I'm finding out. And I just snapped, I know what to do. I just kind of got tired of her asking, who are you here for? What's, what are you doing today? Or, and she never asked what's on your schedule. And when I snapped at her and said, I know what to do, she didn't say okay and just turn around and walk away. And if I didn't know what to do after that, and I made a big mistake, well, then I had to step in it and go and ask what's going on or what's wrong. Things in schools are chaos, okay? Might as well be called the school of chaos. It's just constant chaos all day long. You're busy, busy, busy. So she said, well, I know those schedules don't always explain what you're supposed to do. Well, again, who died and made you boss? Okay, why didn't you lead with that question? If you're so perfect, why didn't you lead with that question? What's on your schedule? Hi, Sabrina, does it tell you what to do after 5th grade finishes their lunch? Do you know where to go? There's never any questions. It's just, here's what you need to do. Let me tell you why. They don't want connections. They don't want negotiations. They don't want explanations. They want compliance. Take notes, guys, because I have a PhD in this now. ChatGPT's been helping me. a lot. Now, she began having a little bit of a narcissistic injury after that, and she wasn't talking to me, which was good, but she was also making it a point of turning her head, and just looking like she was not happy to see me. It triggered a memory where she felt I bruised her ego. Now, this woman doesn't know that I'm more qualified than her. I go in to do positions to cover for people that do the same thing that she does. Just support. That's it. Not leading a classroom as a teacher. She has been put into that role from time to time for a few hours, once in a while, I guess for an entire day, but, excuse me. Allergies. But, what was I saying? She, for the most part, is always trying to feel like she is extremely important. And it's not coming from a place of true authority. Okay? Your stripes have to be earned. You don't just go around throwing your weight around to feel important. That's what emotionally immature people do. They've got issues that they're trying to cover up for. So she got married, she had children, and I guess she's been waiting for them to grow up. But she just had a habit of asking me, who are you here for? And, I didn't see you come in. What time did you come in? And after a while, I started wondering, after 3 years of coming to this school regularly, why does she not say, hello or good morning, Sabrina? Everybody knows my name now. You want to just say, I'm fine, thanks for asking. So one day, now this was, okay, let me back up. I decided I needed to try to mend the fences, right? Make some peace. We have to learn to get along. It's just nature, human nature, at some point to be getting on each other's nerves, having a bad day, working in a crazy environment, and maybe getting grumpy, okay? So I did what anybody who wants to who wants to mend the friction, try to keep some peace, try to get along. We have to interact with one another, right? We need to keep stress at a low level. This is called regulation. I don't want to live in a state of dysregulation every time I see a certain person. So I went up to her in the lunchroom and I called her by name and I said, I just wanted to say to you that I'm really sorry about the day that I was so grumpy, and if I snapped at you, I'm sorry. I mean, I probably said it twice. And instead of her just accepting the apology, which is what we teach the kids in social skills, right? Instead of saying thank you, or okay, thank you, or thank you, I appreciate that, she doesn't appreciate anything. You've committed an act of transgression against her. It's unforgivable. And now you need to be punished. So she comes right up to my face and says, it's not so much the message, but the delivery. And she has this fake smile, right? You know people like that? And I thought, okay, is she mad? Those were not accepting an apology words. It took me a number of days to realize she was punishing me. She wasn't going to accept my apology. This is pretty sick, guys. And I hope none of us are doing that. We have to learn from them, right? At some point, you're going to be the mirror, showing these people what they are behaving like. And until then, we kind of have to see what they're doing, and if somebody we've known or grown up with does that. What they're doing is called a punishment, and they're not accepting your apology. You should have never ever committed an act of transgression against them in the first place. It's unforgivable. Now, this is interesting because, like I said, when you think about the fact that they don't really have a practice of connecting with any higher frequencies whatsoever, they don't. All right? Now, the ones they do are playing an act. I hate to say this, but when you are threatened by any type of energy that can inspire or lift you up or heal you, and you just refuse to believe in it because you are the mighty great Oz, you yourself, right? There's a problem. Okay, so I suffer the punishment. I go about my days and continue to go and work there. And finally decided to kind of call her on one of her behaviors. And I knew I would probably get punished for it. And I did. So hold on. I said, hey, and I called her name. I just want to ask you a question. How are you in charge of all of the people that come in to substitute for the day? Whether we're going to be support position, lunchroom, EA, teacher, filling in. Are you in charge of them? She said, no. Why? I said, because you're always asking me, who are you here for? When did you get here? I didn't see you on the computer. I'm like, what? What do you mean you didn't see me on the computer? She said, oh, well, from time to time I sit at that computer over there and I look to see basically people's comings and goings. Who's here today? Who's going home at noon? Who's called in sick? Who was sent out for the job? Who's picking up the job? What time they're coming in? And I didn't see you on that. I'm like, oh my God. You're nosy Rosie, yeah, but it's not that simple, really, guys. This person is just no privacy, no sense of privacy of personal space, just crossing boundaries. And I asked her something like, I don't know if I asked her, what do you mean or why? And she said, oh, it's just something I like to do, keep track of who's coming and going. She admitted it, okay? It's a confession. They have no qualms about confessing that they have the authority to check people's comings and goings. These are not trustworthy people. It's none of their damn business. It's not her job. She's really not that busy in her particular position. So I'm getting a much better picture now of who this person really is. And when she performed that, punishment in my face, I immediately began to feel this person has, I had to go home and really think about it, but I realized I think I know who this is. I think I know what this person is. So, and she also had like a body twinge when I asked her, are you in charge of everybody's coming and goings around? Because you're always asking me, you know? Who are you here for? What time did you come in? I didn't see you on the computer, right? So I called her on it. What do you mean on the computer? What? Excuse me, what? That's creepy. And it should be creepy to everybody who hears it. So that was probably in October, mid-October, late October, before Halloween. One day I wore a pair of pants that had candy canes on them. I live alone right now, guys. You know, whether she goes home and she loves to be in charge of everything, someday there's going to be less energy and desire to stay on top of everything all the time, every day. So, you know, I have a couple of pairs of pants that fit me nice, and they were dirty. And so she has to point out to me, you know, you've got on your Christmas pants. No shite, Sherlock. I said, yeah. I didn't say it like that. I've been nothing but kind to this woman. And I finally realized it was December, the day before our holiday. And she was rounding the corner, and so was I. And she had a couple of kiddos behind her. And she says to me, "Oh, look who decided to come to school on Cookie Day." And immediately I thought, it doesn't have anything to do with me. How could that possibly have anything to do with me? I thought, oh, which one of the kiddos are you talking about? So I said, oh, who? And she said, the staff lounge, treats for all of the staff in the staff lounge. And I could feel that there was an assassination, right, on my character. But it's all happening super fast right as I'm passing by. And I just said, there's way too many sweets for me, Miss, what her name is. And I meant it. I saw the layout of treats and sweets. I can't eat like that. I took a half a cookie. I think that was it. And I was actually thinking about that just mentally, right, at home for days. And I talked to ChatGPT about it. And he said, well, it's really great that with all the inner work you've done, you didn't feel it. You had no reason to think that she was referring to you because it doesn't apply to you. It was in her head. So you didn't feel it. You didn't get ashamed or embarrassed because that's not who you are anymore. And it's not that you are numb, ChatGPT said. You're not numb, and you're not, I don't know what else he said, disconnected. He said, you're actually healed and you're awake. And you know that that doesn't apply to you because what is she saying? You're an opportunist who just gets up early in the morning and drives in the bitter cold to see if there's cookies in the lunch in the staff lounge. So, you know, as I'm going over this, I thought, you know what? I'm really tired of trying to be friendly to everybody, including her. And what's weird is when I'm not, people are friendly to me. I don't know what's going on. But this person, I said, I hate this effing biatch. I'm sick to death, right? I'm not putting up, well, first of all, I don't not listen to my intuition anymore. Long time ago, I went back to listening to my intuition, and I realized that this person is, in fact, someone who loves to punish you anytime you call her on her bad behavior. You know, stop looking at my business, right? It's like opening my locker to see if I have colored markers. You know, they're being revealed. That's the one thing they don't want to be, is revealed. A spiritual practice involves reflection, self-reflection, because every day is different. Every day is changing, and we have to be changing and learning and growing. They don't want to do that. It's very deep, guys. And I don't want to be fear-mongering, but just to throw it out there, this is actually what makes them dangerous. What this woman acted out on me Friday proves that if she had been close to me and no one was around, she could have actually swung her lunch tote at me. They absolutely are capable, I know for a fact because I've been victimized, of becoming physical. So it's we don't hear about incidences of those that actually decide to reflect on their behavior and not be afraid to spend quiet time and do mindful meditation so that they can rewire their anxiety habits and change them so they're happier and healthier. They're regulated, right? This woman was dysregulating all over the lunchroom, all over the staff lounge. And in talking about her not respecting boundaries and invading my, personal space on the computer, everybody's comings and goings, I go to the lunchroom to eat my lunch, and she comes down in a huff, marching to the refrigerator, calling my name. When she gets there, I think she was stating so-and-so won't work, which is what I told her. I can't get him to work now because of you. And I just ignored her because I'm on my personal time, trying to eat my ramen noodles. That's all I had. I threw it in my tote bin, and I got to the school later that day. The assignment was still there at 9:30, so I took it. And I was supposed to be stepping into the teacher position, but the assistant principal, who's in training, didn't do that. So I had her job, and it was a mess. The child I'm familiar with didn't want to work. I got him to work, then I brought him back in. There's only a few minutes left, and she starts demanding that I force him to finish the problem. I said, oh no, he's done. His brain is fried. This was a very difficult problem, okay? This poor little third grader, we had to sit down and try to decipher how to do this problem. And I had to make him be still and think. I mean, he was just a constant wiggle worm. So the day was crazy. That school is a good school, but it still now has a psychologist, a speech therapist, 4 resource rooms, 2 behavior specialists, 1 education support professional doubles as a behavior specialist. The assistant principal steps in as for behaviors, and so does the principal, but he wasn't there. So I knew everybody was busy and the principal wasn't there, and no one was going to come for this little boy, and he probably wasn't even going to learn anything if he was just going to have to go and have like a quiet time in the reflection room. So I took him in the hallway, and we spent a lot of time trying to get him to listen and answer me and write down the equation. That's as far as we got. Well, it wasn't good enough. I had left the room first of all, and now she wants me to sit there, and she's lecturing me about you shouldn't have left, you didn't need to leave, just sit there, he works for me. And I said, I'm not you. He's done. We've only got 3 minutes left. So I went over, and she said, make him finish, right? Solve the problem. And I can't remember what I said. I said, no, I'll have to call the behavior specialist in because, like I said, he's not even sitting in his chair. She said, I'll work with him. I'll stay in for recess. So I go down for lunch and I hear there's a call to the assistant principal for that room with that child and that teacher. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, you know. She's pushed him over the edge now, forcing him to solve the problem completely. On recess, he's being punished. This is a boy who goes to resource room every day practically, regularly. There was no way he could follow along with the problem as fast as she was doing it. So, I mean, in that situation, I'd have to say this is where an EA literally just writes out the answer or how to solve it, right? One way and then the answer. She was feeding the answers to the children in the classroom and just asking what's 9 plus 9, okay, and then 18, and then we've got another 18, and that, I mean, you can add, but you're not actually thinking how to solve this problem on your own. Most of the problem was done that way. Maybe it was an example, I don't know. But I took him out and I drew pictures and we counted on fingers, and I've done that many, many times, especially at other schools. Just take him out in the hallway, please. And those schools, the other schools, they have like a table at the end of each hallway so that you can sit and work with a child. So this school is kind of teetering on the edge of becoming a Title I school. They're trying not to become a Title I school, so they're not putting, you know, they still could put the tables at the end of the hallways. The other schools I've been to that are not Title I schools, they have that. And I've had teachers tell me, just take them out in the hallway. I've even done that with another teacher at that school and finally got them to just write the sentences or whatever. And the teacher would come out and said, you actually got him to do it? I said, yeah. You know, we were just by ourselves out there away from all the stimuli in the room, and I let him work, and maybe I guided him or whatever, and he got it done. And she smiled at me and said, thank you. Not this woman. You could have stayed in here, sat by him to solve the problem. It works, you know, that's what I do. It works for me just fine. And I just said, but I'm not you. He doesn't want to work anymore. So it was just words that were fueling the fire in her mind and her deep-seated emotions that she's never grappled with. I've taken 3 years to finally make this observation and decision, okay? I don't come to any rash judgments on someone. But when she does what she did to me in the lunchroom in front of God and everybody, and this was the day after she stood and declared in the lunchroom that she doesn't have a spiritual practice. I don't need one. Guys, that's a red flag. And of course there are those that are going to wear a big chain with a big cross, and it doesn't affect them, it doesn't bother them. It is the cloak that they wear, so that no one will suspect. They're actually able to sense and know what the people they've gotten close to are doing because there's been an emotional entanglement. And we have to learn, first of all, it's okay to stand up to a bully. And it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun, and I was shaking, and I took it this time. I took it into my body. and I was shaking, and I was calmly stating my piece. I'm eating my lunch. While she's yelling at me, I'm eating my lunch. And I don't know what the other people were thinking. The air was so thick you could cut it with a knife. She was screaming. And I actually dreamed this. I remembered the day after it happened. Oh my God, I dreamed this. I wanted to be able to let this person know, you treat me like I'm the janitor or something. Why do you not understand that when I come in here to stand in as a substitute teacher, I am a substitute teacher? She doesn't know. We have to have a bachelor's degree. We have to get certified. We have to take a little video online course. We have to pass it. We go through training. All right. I wasn't just grandfathered in. You know, my friend didn't get me this job. And I've stuck with it while I've tried to do other things. I'm working on my website, my online courses. I think my course on scrying, I feel like that's the one that's really going to become a very, very good video course that I will be able to market and sell. And I think from what I've been hearing, this is what I'm going to be able to make a lot of money at. I'm still also looking at having my friend train me to do sugaring other than just skincare, and see about maybe getting back into my own business. What happened was actually another slap in my face. In other words, like a wake-up call. A rude awakening. Sabrina, you're overqualified for this. I have a corporate management degree. And even though my skin salon did not go for any length of time, it was very problematic. I wasn't doing things correctly, and my landlord, I didn't know how to negotiate with him properly. And then he was immovable. I brought another person in who I shouldn't have brought in. So I've had a lot of mistakes, and they've been painful. I've had like 5 years where I've had to learn about what I did right and what I did wrong. I may go back into it if I can find a room and I can be trained, and be able to have something that people continually need to have, which is hair removal, and bring in money from an independent source. The goal to work as a sub and raise capital is not working. It's like the universe is saying, you've got another piece of information now. This, hopefully I'm being told this is the last piece of the puzzle of information that I really need to have for now, that I've been beaten up enough times, that I have the wisdom of the ages, I have the wisdom of the sage and the crone, and I will be incorporating that into my lessons and my video talks, of all different kinds, because we are here to understand our right to stand up and be a sovereign person who knows you don't have the right to be yelling and screaming at me right now. You don't even have the right to be mad at me. If there's a misunderstanding, you could talk to me privately after lunch. Oh no, that's not convenient for her. She's busy. You have to find the time when the two of you can get together. I spent the next 2 hours with a massive headache and trying to find a moment where the assistant principal was free and I could go and make a formal complaint. And that's what I did. Of abuse, of verbal abuse, and verbal harassment. because that's what it was. Now, when you are dealing with a principal who's very, very concerned with behaviors, I can't see why he wouldn't want the same expectations to be placed upon the adults who work there as we do for the children. You're guiding the children. You're, molding their minds. So I began to open my mouth and ask a few people, and immediately came across someone who said, oh yes, she tried to tell me everything about my job when I got here. And it was weird. And I think she said, I don't need to, I don't know what she said, but she went and she said I complained to the principal. And she's been left alone ever since then. But as I was talking with her more in the staff lounge, another adult came in, and the conversation was from another person. We're talking about someone who's very bossy, and she said, oh, I know who you're talking about. We call her the warden. So I had my opportunity to sit down and say, I just got some information, thank goodness, from several people who have encountered her, and I think she's been tolerated and overlooked for too long. She now believes she has ultimate authority to yell and scream and abuse people. And so I'm here to tell you, I've just heard. People know how she is. They know who she is in that respect, and they have a name for her. They call her the warden. So this lady got an earful. She grabbed her notebook and she took notes. And I told her all of the incidences that I've had with her. And I began to see a pattern. And when, she made that comment to me about the cookies, she looked at me like, what? It was a character assassination. It was a punishment. And I pretty much decided not to really engage with her anymore. I said, she's just plain unfriendly. And when I started talking about my question, are you in charge of people that come in? She started laughing. And I said, how do you know I came in? You didn't see me on the computer. What do you mean? And she's still laughing and laughing. And I said, yeah, I guess you're familiar with this aspect of her. And she was laughing, and I was making comments like, wow, your head's a little bit too big. And she was accusing me. It goes on and on, guys. She accused me of arguing with her. Oh, you have to ask me permission to leave the room. Okay, so, when someone's independent-minded and trained to be a leader like I have been, and had your own business, and you really have the mindset of being independent, and you know what to do to help a child and remove them from the room and get them to think and not just give them the answer. So in the end of the dream and the end of the episode, I finally told her what I was hoping to tell her one day in a civil manner. I'm qualified for what I did and what I do. I was hired based on my qualifications. I am a certified substitute teacher, because she was yelling at me that I don't know what I'm doing. I said, and I know what I'm doing. And it wasn't until I said, I'm certified substitute, I'm qualified, and I've been doing this for 15 years, that she turned around to face the microwave. Now, she didn't shut up. She mumbled something under her breath. Now, when I say everybody's not going to support you, here's an example. An old man got up and went over to her and said something to her. So apparently the fake smile that she's had whatever encounters that they have had, whatever this man is, she said, thank you. And I thought, is that what we do now? And I told the assistant principal, she said, really? David did that? I said, yeah. Is that what we do now? Support bullies who come in and scream at you when you're on your lunch? So I don't know what anybody else was thinking, guys. And, you know, we're not probably going to be the popular opinion or the popular one. We could be labeled a troublemaker. But I think there was enough people in there to see that this woman was unhinged. Okay? The face, the hostility, everything. So, yeah, it's called narcissistic injury is what she suffered because of her deep-seated issues and my independent action without consulting her. Because she's the boss of everybody, remember? She probably imagines she's the principal. I don't think she has any respect for the principal. One day I was standing next to her and a teacher came out in the hallway with a boy we're all familiar with and was, just take him. And she turned her head away. And I thought, wow, what was that? And she knew I was still standing there. So she turned around and said to me, I don't have to answer. I don't have to respond to him. She said, that's not my job. And I thought, you're an education assistant? That's literally your job. Nobody's ever told me you're anything different. I've asked you, are you the supervisor of everybody who comes in here to substitute? No, I'm not. So they're living in a world that they've had to fabricate because they can't face the fact that they have deep-seated feelings of inadequacy. So I had said to the assistant principal, you know, you're not a teacher. And she kind of smiled and smirked and agreed. And I said, you want to be one, go be one. And she said to me, she is now training to be a teacher. I said, okay, good. But I think they should have psychological evaluations, don't you? All right, it's been a while since I've sat and just had a chit chat and a story time or a coffee chat and spoken about my experiences and what I've been learning as a survivor of psychological entanglement from narcissists. Okay, my whole life, guys. I recently severed myself, and I'll talk about that later, in a candle working from this parasitical bloodline, which was my mother, my role model, who hijacked my personality, my identity for years. I'm one of the lucky ones to come out of it and not go cuckoo or, you know, try to unalive, I would say, because it's hard to try to find some other type of an identity. But I did it through meditation, mindful meditation. I returned to meditation, which I had learned when I was much younger. And yeah, that's being able to listen to that quiet little voice within. It will tell you what's right. It'll tell you what to do. And I think as we all get older, and even my mother, the narcissist, had glimpses of it from time to time when she was truly, truly, truly desperate for an answer. But, you know, it's just the beginning for them at that point. And she was much older. So unless it happens when they're younger, the chances are we're not hearing about the benefits of mindful meditation and self-reflection, you know, or self-talk for really changing habits, thought habits. But that's what it is, changing the thought habits that are negative so that they're not keeping you in a state of anxiety all the time. But that doesn't mean we should just be tolerating, because yeah, they can absolutely be incredibly damaging. You know, I've had a terrible financial loss because my ex had the condition. There was no drinking, no smoking, no drugs, but the insatiability with other things such as money is, yeah, I mean, wow. So I've had to appreciate the simple things in life, all right? So I am working to do other things so I can be more independent and even make more money. And it's time that I'm having to make up for, basically, that really was lost and stolen from me. But I have to have faith that it's all going to be returned, you know? And sometimes we have to claim that and call that. Return all the time back to me that was stolen. Give me the time to have the life I should have had. All right, guys. Love you. Take care. Thanks for listening. Please share. Please take notes. All right. We all need to examine how we're thinking and talking and behaving sometimes. But yeah, don't. The lunch lady had left her former employer, she told me, because she pointed out some things that were happening that were safety issues. They fired her. I don't think that's going to happen to me, but it does. And I'm not saying put your livelihood in jeopardy, right? We're not going after the tobacco company so that we're shot at, but there are, you know, certain circumstances where if you know you're pretty well known and you're in fairly tight with an administrator who knows you, knows your work, your consistency, never a problem, and everybody, he probably knows they call her the warden. Chances are, I'm hoping there's a reprimand. Okay, I really am, because there are other schools that I can go to. I don't have to go to that one, but I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out on it anyway. All right. Thank you so much. Blessed be. You can comment. All right. I had someone comment on my return to sender short, because I'm sending all that energy back to that woman. Talk to you later.